LibreOffice. Microsoft Office costs around $100 a year. Over a decade, that's roughly $1,000 just to write documents, make spreadsheets, and create presentations. And the weirdest part is that once the subscription ends, Microsoft suddenly acts like accessing your own files is a privilege, not a basic human right. And Office isn't even the expensive part anymore. Photoshop, Premiere Pro, cloud storage, productivity apps. A lot of people are quietly spending over $1,000 every year on software subscriptions without realizing it. At this point, half the internet runs on monthly payments and forgotten free trials. But here's the thing, a huge amount of paid software has free open source alternatives that do almost the same job without ads, limits, or random upgrade now reminders appearing like jump scares. We tracked down 40 of the best ones. Together, they replace well over $4,000 a year in paid software for exactly $0. Grab something to take notes because you're going to want to install at least a few of these. And the easiest place to start is LibreOffice. LibreOffice launched in 2010 as a fork of OpenOffice and is now maintained by the Document Foundation. It includes Writer for documents, Calc for spreadsheets, Impress for presentations, plus tools for databases, diagrams, and equations. Basically the entire Microsoft Office lineup, except nobody's asking for your credit card every 30 days. It opens and saves Word, Excel, and PowerPoint files, works fully offline, needs no account, and doesn't quietly send telemetry data into the void. Entire governments, including parts of France's military and Italy's defense ministry, have switched to it. And honestly, for 99% of users, it does everything they actually need. The only real limitation is that advanced Excel macros and complex PowerPoint animations can sometimes behave a little differently. But for students, freelancers, and small businesses, LibreOffice replaces a yearly subscription bill with exactly $0, which is a very competitive price. VLC Media Player. Most media players are fine, until you try opening one weird file. That's usually the moment everything falls apart. Windows says the format isn't supported. QuickTime gives up immediately. And suddenly, you're downloading something called Ultra Codec Player Pro Final _V7 from a website that looks medically unsafe. And this is exactly why VLC Media Player exists. VLC started in 2001 as a student project at École Centrale Paris, and somehow turned into the media player almost everyone eventually installs after their default one disappoints them. Its main advantage is simple. It plays basically everything: MP4, MKV, AVI, FLAC, MOV, obscure formats from 2006 that were probably created by one camcorder company and then abandoned forever. VLC opens them without complaining. And somehow it does all of this while staying incredibly lightweight. The entire program is under 50 megabytes and runs perfectly on machines that sound like they're fighting for survival every time a browser tab opens. But most people only use about 10% of what VLC can actually do. It can convert video and audio files, stream media over a network, sync subtitles frame by frame, record your screen, rip DVDs, and even play YouTube links directly inside the app. VLC isn't just a media player anymore. It's basically a Swiss Army knife for video files. Even the traffic cone logo has lore behind it. It came from the developers apparently collecting traffic cones during university, which somehow makes perfect sense for VLC's energy. And honestly, the best description of VLC is this: if a file exists, VLC will probably play it. It's the cockroach of media players. Impossible to kill, works everywhere, and survives every format war humanity invents. DaVinci Resolve. For years, professional video editing basically meant paying Adobe every month and pretending the crashes were part of the creative process. Then there's DaVinci Resolve. Resolve is made by Blackmagic Design, which is a real profitable company that, for some reason, gives away one of the most powerful editing suites on the planet completely free. And not free trial free. Actually free. What makes Resolve different is that it isn't just one tool. It's basically 4 professional apps fused together into a single program. You get video editing similar to Premiere Pro, Fusion for motion graphics, and visual effects like After Effects, Fairlight for professional audio work, and the industry's favorite color grading system. The color tools are the big one here. Entire Hollywood films, including movies like John Wick, La La Land, and Deadpool, were color graded in Resolve. And the wild part is that the free version already includes around 95% of what most people need. The paid studio version mainly adds advanced noise reduction, some AI features, and a few higher-end export options. So yes, technically you can download free software today and edit a movie with the same platform used in actual cinema productions, which feels slightly unfair to everyone still paying monthly subscriptions. The downside is that Resolve expects your computer to have a decent GPU, and the learning curve is very real. Opening it for the first time can feel like accidentally entering a NASA control room. But for YouTubers, students, filmmakers, and content creators, this replaces editing, VFX, audio, and color software that would otherwise cost hundreds of dollars every year. OBS Studio. If you've ever watched a live stream, gaming video, podcast, tutorial, or apology video filmed with suspiciously good lighting, there's a very high chance it was running through OBS Studio. Released in 2012, OBS became the standard tool for streamers because it solved a simple problem. People needed professional video production without spending television studio money. And somehow the free open source option ended up being better than most paid competitors. OBS works through a scene-based system. You can layer your screen capture, webcam, browser tabs, overlays, alerts, images, audio sources, basically anything, and switch between them live. It turns your computer into a real-time production studio instead of just the thing with Chrome open. It records in extremely high quality, it streams to almost every platform, and has a massive plugin ecosystem. Virtual cameras, Stream Deck integration, NDI support, advanced audio tools. If there's something you want OBS to do, someone has probably already made a plugin for it at 3 a.m. fueled entirely by caffeine and Linux enthusiasm. And this isn't niche software either. Pretty much every major streamer has used OBS at some point. Beyond streaming, people use it for tutorials, gameplay recording, podcasts, online classes, and even virtual meetings through OBS Virtual Camera. Which means, yes, technically your next Zoom call can have scene transitions for absolutely no reason. The only real downside is the first 10 minutes. Opening OBS for the first time feels confusing because there are buttons everywhere and none of them explain themselves. But once it clicks, it becomes incredibly powerful. And compared to tools like XSplit, Streamlabs Ultra, or Camtasia, OBS saves anywhere from $60 to $300 while somehow still being the better product. GIMP. Before subscription-based photo editing became the industry standard, there was GIMP, short for GNU Image Manipulation Program. GIMP launched in 1996, which means it's older than Google, YouTube, and probably some people watching this video. At its core, GIMP is a full raster graphics editor. Layers, masks, filters, brushes, selections, photo retouching, digital painting, all the core image editing tools are here. With plugins, it can even handle raw photo files and even Photoshop PSD projects. So for things like thumbnails, social media graphics, web assets, or general photo editing, GIMP covers most of what people actually need. Over the years, the community has added extra filters, tools, interface improvements, and workflow upgrades that push it much further than the default install. Now, is it as polished as Photoshop? Not exactly. The interface can feel a little dated. Some Photoshop shortcuts and habits don't transfer cleanly, and the lack of native CMYK support is still annoying for print designers. GIMP sometimes feels like software designed by extremely talented people who slightly underestimated the importance of looking normal. Honestly, I think GIMP gets unfairly hated. Yes, the interface looks like it was designed in a Linux forum from 2004, but once you stop expecting it to be Photoshop and start treating it as its own thing, it does the job. And that's the important part, because Photoshop now costs around $260 a year, while GIMP costs nothing. No subscription, no login, no cloud integration trying to become your personality. Audacity. If your video looks bad, people might forgive it. If your audio sounds bad, they're gone immediately. And that's why Audacity has survived for over 25 years. Released in 2000, Audacity became the default free audio editor for basically the entire internet. Podcasts, YouTube voiceovers, music demos, school projects, random microphone disasters. If audio needed fixing, chances are Audacity was involved somewhere. At its core, it's a multi-track audio editor and recorder. You can cut clips, remove background noise, normalize volume, apply EQ and compression, add effects, and clean up recordings that sounded terrible 5 minutes earlier. It also exports to pretty much every format people actually use, including MP3, WAV, FLAC, and OGG. And despite looking simple, there's a surprising amount of power underneath. Audacity supports VST and LV2 plugins, meaning you can expand it with professional audio tools used in actual music production workflow. For creators, this matters a lot. A decent microphone helps, but good audio editing helps even more. Now, to be fair, Audacity did hit controversy in 2021 after concerns about telemetry and data collection updates. The backlash was immediate, and most of the concerns were later clarified or scaled back, but it's still part of the software's history worth mentioning honestly. And compared to tools like Adobe Audition or Hindenburg Pro, Audacity replaces software that can cost anywhere from $95 to $240 without putting basic audio cleanup behind a paywall. Blender. For a long time, professional 3D software was locked behind absurd pricing. If you wanted to work in animation, VFX, or game development, you were expected to pay thousands of dollars for tools like Maya, Cinema 4D, or ZBrush before you even made your first cube spin dramatically in empty space. Then there's Blender. Blender started in 1994 at a Dutch animation studio, and in 2002 it became open source after the community literally crowdfunded 100,000 euros to free the software, which is still one of the most dramatic save the app moments in tech history. Today, Blender is a complete 3D production pipeline. Modeling, sculpting, rigging, animation, simulations, rendering, video editing, even 2D animation through grease pencil. It's all built into one application. And this isn't hobby software anymore. Blender has been used in real productions, including shots in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, while Netflix's Next Gen was made entirely in Blender. It also includes two powerful render engines, Cycles for realistic rendering and Eevee for fast real-time previews. The catch is the learning curve. Blender is absolutely the hardest program on this list to learn. Opening it for the first time feels like someone handed you the cockpit of a 747 and walked away. There are buttons inside of buttons, menus that lead to menus. It's genuinely overwhelming, but the people who push through end up making things that look like Pixar shorts. Blender replaces software suites that can cost thousands every year. And somehow, the free part still surprises people. Obsidian. Most note-taking apps today want your notes in the cloud, connected to an account, synced through a subscription, and somehow also integrated with AI for reasons nobody asked for. Obsidian goes in the opposite direction. Released in 2020 during the whole second brain productivity movement, Obsidian became popular because it treats your notes like actual files instead of content trapped inside a service. Everything is stored locally on your computer using simple markdown text files. No account required, no internet needed, no loading spinner just to open grocery lists. The feature that made people obsessed with it is bidirectional linking. You can connect notes to other notes like a personal knowledge web. And Obsidian visualizes those relationships through a graph view that makes your brain look either incredibly organized or mildly concerning. And because the community is huge, the plugin ecosystem exploded. There are now over 1,500 plugins for things like calendars, flashcards, task management, AI tools, writing workflows, and basically every productivity system humans have invented to avoid actually doing work. The main downside is syncing. Obsidian Sync costs extra. Otherwise, you'll need to manually set up Dropbox, iCloud, or another workaround. But for students, researchers, writers, and people tired of apps getting slower every update, Obsidian replaces services like Notion, Evernote, and Roam Research, while keeping your notes fully under your control, which honestly feels weirdly refreshing in 2026, when even calculator apps want you to make an account. Scratch. Most programming languages start by throwing a wall of symbols at you and hoping you don't panic. Scratch takes a very different approach. Developed by the MIT Media Lab and launched in 2007, Scratch teaches programming through visual blocks instead of typed code. You drag pieces together like digital Lego, and those blocks control animations, games, stories, and interactive projects. And even though it looks simple, the logic underneath is real programming. Loops, variables, conditions, events, functions. The same concepts professional developers use are all here, just without the part where one missing semicolon destroys your entire afternoon. Because it runs directly in the browser, schools around the world adopted it quickly. No installation, no setup nightmares, no, it works on my computer situations. Today, the platform has over 100 million shared projects, which means Scratch accidentally became one of the largest programming communities on Earth. It looks like a toy. It isn't. And honestly, a huge number of younger developers started here. It's not trying to turn kids into software engineers overnight. It's teaching computational thinking in a way that actually feels approachable. So while paid coding platforms charge yearly subscriptions for beginner programming lessons, Scratch gives people a real first step into coding completely free. And for a lot of developers, this is where the entire rabbit hole started. Godot. For years, indie game development was dominated by Unity and Unreal Engine. Then, Unity made one very impressive business decision in 2023. It united the entire game industry against Unity. That controversy pushed massive attention toward Godot, an open-source game engine that had quietly been growing for years. Godot uses the MIT license, which basically means you can build and sell games with it and pay absolutely nothing in royalties. No revenue cuts, no surprise fees, no executives suddenly inventing new pricing rules at 2 a.m. The engine supports both 2D and 3D development and uses a scene and node system that makes projects surprisingly organized once it clicks. Developers can use GD script, which feels similar to Python, or switch to C# if they prefer. And this isn't just experimental indie software anymore. Games like Cassette Beasts, Brotato, and Dome Keeper shipped successfully using Godot. Now, to be fair, Godot's 3D tools still lag behind Unreal Engine in some areas, and its ecosystem is smaller than Unity's. But for indie developers, hobbyists, and smaller studios, the trade-off is worth it. Because Unity Pro costs thousands per year. Unreal takes royalties after a revenue threshold. Godot takes nothing, ever, which suddenly became a very attractive feature after 2023. Godot is the most quietly important project on this entire list. Not because it's the best at everything, it isn't, but because it's the only major engine where the people making games actually own what they make. That used to be normal. It isn't anymore. Krita. Krita began in 1999 as part of the KDE project under the name K-Image Shop. It wasn't originally a dedicated art program, but in 2009, the project pivoted heavily toward digital painting. That decision turned Krita into one of the most respected free creative apps on the internet. Here's the key thing. Krita isn't trying to be Photoshop. Photoshop edits everything. Krita was built for the person who opened their laptop and immediately wanted to draw dragons, spaceships, or anime characters. The star is the brush engine. Dozens of customizable brushes, stabilizers for smooth line work, seamless texture modes, even built-in animation tools. Whether you're sketching characters, drawing comics, or designing an entire fantasy world instead of answering emails, Krita has you covered. It's used by professional illustrators and concept artists worldwide. This isn't one of those apps that's impressive for being free. It's impressive, period. The savings are sustainable too. Coral Painter costs over $400, while Photoshop subscriptions can easily exceed $250 a year. Krita costs absolutely nothing. Its one limitation is that it's a painting tool, not a photo editing workflow tool. If you're organizing thousands of raw photos from a vacation you'll never sort through, look elsewhere. Photoshop was never really built for painting. It tolerates it. Krita was built for it, by artists, for artists, and somehow still costs less than a cup of coffee, which is probably why people wouldn't stop recommending it. Photopea. The idea behind Photopea sounds fake until you use it. It's Photoshop running in a browser tab. No installation, no launcher, no account creation, no mysterious background process eating RAM while you're asleep. You just open the website and start editing. And surprisingly, it isn't some stripped down knockoff. Photopea supports Photoshop's own PSD files, layer masks, blend modes, most of what people actually open Photoshop for. If you're on a school Chromebook, an old laptop, or a work computer where installing software is about as easy as getting a meeting approved, Photopea still works. I've genuinely opened Photopea on a lockdown work laptop just to crop one image, fully expecting it to get blocked. And it just opened. No install, no permission box, nothing. What's even crazier is that it was created by a single developer, Ivan Kutzker, and is mostly funded through ads. Not the annoying kind that cover half your screen either. There's also an inexpensive premium option if you want an ad-free experience. For most people, Photopea can replace a Photoshop subscription entirely, potentially saving around $260 a year. The catch? It's browser-based, so huge multi-layer projects lean hard on your RAM, and pros on massive commercial work will hit its limits. But for everyday editing, thumbnails, school projects, even surprisingly advanced work, it's absurdly good. It's basically Photoshop cosplaying as a website. And the first time you use it, you'll keep expecting a free trial expired message that never shows up. Inkscape. If Photoshop, GIMP, and Photopea work with pixels, Inkscape works with vectors. Instead of storing an image as millions of tiny colored squares, it stores mathematical paths and shapes. The result is almost unfair. You can make a logo the size of a business card, then scale it up to a billboard without it turning into a blurry mess that looks like it was downloaded from Google Images in 2007. That's why logos, icons, and branding are almost always a vector, anything that might get resized later. Inkscape is a free open-source alternative to Adobe Illustrator that's been around since 2003. Over 2 decades of development have turned it into a genuinely capable design tool. Node editing, path operations, layers, live filters, and full support for the web's standard vector format. It fits into most professional workflows without much drama. For students, freelancers, and small businesses, Inkscape can replace Illustrator entirely, potentially saving around $276 a year. The downside is that it occasionally reminds you it's an open source project. The interface feels a little dated, typography still trails Illustrator, and very complex files make it think about its life choices for a few seconds. But for most people, it's more than enough. Pixels panic when you start scaling them. Vectors just shrug. And Inkscape gives you that infinite resolution power for absolutely nothing. LMMS. If you've ever watched a music producer click random squares for 5 minutes and somehow emerge with a beat that gets 50 million Spotify streams, you've probably wondered how expensive that software is. Usually the answer is more than you'd like. That's where LMMS comes in. Originally short for Linux Multimedia Studio, LMMS is a free open-source digital audio workstation that now runs on Windows and Mac too. Think of it as the door into music production minus the price tag. The workflow will feel familiar to anyone who's seen FL Studio. You've got a piano roll for writing melodies, a pattern-based system for building songs, a beat and bassline editor, and a collection of built-in synths, instruments, and samples to get started immediately. It also supports VST plugins, which means you can expand it with thousands of additional sounds and effects once you start taking music production more seriously. It's especially good for electronic music, hip-hop beats, and anyone learning the fundamentals. It's the kind of software that lets you go from, I wonder how songs are made, to, I accidentally spent 6 hours making a drum loop surprisingly quickly. The biggest limitation? It's built around MIDI and patterns. Unlike professional audio workstations, it won't natively record vocals or live instruments, and the workflow can feel intimidating at first. Small trade-off when the alternative costs money up front. FL Studio starts at around $99 and jumps to about $199 for the Producer Edition. LMMS lets you find out whether music production is your next passion or your next abandoned hobby without spending a cent. And honestly, that's probably the safest way to discover you're terrible at making beats, or surprisingly good at it. Kdenlive, Shotcut. So if DaVinci Resolve feels like a professional movie studio, Shotcut and Kdenlive are the editors for people who just want to make videos without earning a film degree first. Let's start with Shotcut. It's the simpler option. The interface is cleaner, the learning curve is gentler, and most beginners can figure out the basics within an hour. Cut clips, add transitions, throw in some text, adjust audio, export video, done. It focuses on the 90% of editing that most people actually do. Kdenlive sits one step higher on the ladder. It's still free and open source, but it offers more advanced features, better multi-track editing, additional effects, and more control over complex projects. It's especially popular among Linux users, though it runs perfectly fine on Windows too. The easiest way to think about them is Shotcut if you're starting, Kdenlive when you want more control, DaVinci Resolve when you suddenly start saying things like cinematic color grading. Neither matches Resolve's professional color tools or Adobe Premiere's massive plugin ecosystem. If you're editing a Netflix documentary, you'll probably outgrow them eventually. But for YouTube videos, school projects, tutorials, gaming clips, family videos, and social media content, both are more than capable. And unlike Premium Pro, they don't send you a monthly reminder that your video editor costs more than some streaming subscriptions combined. KeePassXC. This is the one I'd actually trust with my own passwords over everything else here, and I don't say that lightly. KeePassXC is a free open source password manager. If your current password strategy is some variation of your pet's name followed by 123, this section is for you. The basic idea is simple. Instead of remembering dozens of passwords, you remember one master password. KeePassXC stores everything else in an encrypted vault locked with the same military-grade encryption banks use, the kind experts describe as, "This would take centuries to crack." What makes KeePassXC different from services like 1Password or LastPassword is ownership. Your password vault isn't stored on somebody else's servers by default. It's a file you own. You can keep it entirely offline, store it on a USB drive, sync it through your own cloud storage, or back it up however you want. No subscription required. No account creation, no company deciding next month that a feature now costs extra. Despite being free, it still does browser integration, password generation, auto-type, and flags weak or reused passwords. The downside is convenience. Since your vault belongs to you, backups and syncing are also your responsibility. Cloud-based password managers handle that automatically. KeePassXC gives you more control but asks you to be slightly more organized. Still, when alternatives cost around $36 a year, the savings add up. Every few months, a password company gets hacked, changes its pricing, or announces a new premium tier. KeePassXC can't increase your subscription fee because it doesn't have one. Your vault is your vault. Thunderbird. Most people never think about their email app. They open Gmail or Outlook, answer a few messages, move on. But spread your inbox across multiple accounts, and it gets messy fast. That's where Thunderbird comes in. Thunderbird is a free open-source email client from the same organization behind Firefox. Instead of bouncing between Gmail, Outlook, work email, and that one ancient account you refuse to delete because it's connected to everything, Thunderbird pulls them all into one place. One inbox, one app. No ads squeezed between emails pretending to be important messages from your bank. It's packed with things people don't realize they're missing. Unified inboxes, advanced filters, calendar integration, built-in email encryption, and a huge library of add-ons. Thunderbird is one of the oldest survivors of the early open-source internet. It looked like it might quietly fade out. Instead, it got revived, modernized, and in late 2024, finally launched on Android after nearly 2 decades stuck on desktop. The downside is that Thunderbird values function over style. Setting everything up takes a little more effort than simply opening the Gmail app, and the interface won't win any design awards. But once it's configured, it's incredibly powerful. For people paying for Outlook through Microsoft 365 primarily for email features, Thunderbird can eliminate that cost entirely while keeping your inbox out of another advertising ecosystem. 20 years on, Thunderbird's still the best way to run your email without renting it from an ad company. Calibre. If you read ebooks regularly, Calibre is one of those tools that quietly becomes impossible to live without. At its core, Calibre is a free open-source ebook library manager. Think of it as iTunes for books, back when iTunes actually organized things properly. EPUB, Mobi, AZW, PDF, dozens more. That might not sound exciting until you've tried moving a book from one device to another and discover that every ebook company has its own favorite way of making simple tasks complicated. And in 2025, this became even more relevant. Amazon removed its download and transfer via USB option for Kindle purchases, tightening control over how users access their libraries. It was a reminder that digital ownership often isn't as straightforward as people assume. That's where Calibre shines. It organizes books you legally own, moves them between compatible devices, and builds a library that isn't chained to one storefront. The downside is obvious the moment you open it. Calibre looks like it was built in 2009. It's powerful, but it can feel overwhelming at first. Still, once you learn it, it's incredibly useful. Calibre is the difference between having a pile of ebooks scattered across devices and having an actual digital library. Joplin. Part 1's note-taking recommendation was Obsidian. A lot of people agreed with that choice. A lot of other people basically replied with, "Cool, now show me the encrypted version." That's where Joplin comes in. Joplin is a free open-source note-taking app built around a much more traditional approach. Instead of graphs, backlinks, and knowledge management systems that make you feel like you're building a conspiracy board, Joplin uses notebooks and tags, like an actual notebook. It supports Markdown, syncs across devices, and adds end-to-end encryption so your notes stay private. Best feature, a web clipper that drops articles, recipes, or whole web pages straight into your notes in one click. If you're coming from Evernote, the transition is even easier because Joplin can import Evernote files directly. The app stays free either way, and the notes are yours. The trade-off? Joplin isn't chasing the second brain dream. Less of the interconnected magic Obsidian fans love. For people paying around $130 a year for Evernote, Joplin can replace it completely. Obsidian is great for connecting ideas. Joplin is great for writing them down, keeping them organized, encrypting them, and never worrying whether next year's subscription increase is about to lock half your notebook behind a paywall. MPV. Full transparency, I'm a VLC guy. I've tried switching to MPV 3 separate times and crawled back every time, but I get the obsession. MPV is a free open source media player, but unlike VLC, it takes a very different approach. VLC tries to be everything: media player, converter, network streamer, DVD player, file repair tool, and occasionally a miracle worker. MPV mostly just wants to play video, and do it extremely well. The first thing you'll notice is how minimal it is. Open a video and it's basically just the video. No giant menus, no settings panels, no buttons you'll never touch. Under the hood, it's incredibly powerful, lighter than VLC, easier on resources, and a favorite among people who watch a lot of high-resolution content. HEVC, 4K, HDR, advanced color management, high-quality scaling, that's MPV's home turf. The catch is that MPV expects you to meet it halfway, and a lot of customization happens through configuration files rather than friendly menus. If VLC feels like an appliance, MPV feels like something built by people who genuinely enjoy editing text files. So here's the honest verdict. For most people, VLC is still the right answer. It plays almost anything, requires zero setup, and just works. But if you notice video quality differences, care about HDR, watch a lot of HEVC, or just enjoy tweaking software to perfection, MPV is probably your player. Affinity. For years, Affinity was already Adobe's biggest challenger. Instead of paying every month for Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, you bought Affinity Photo, Designer, and Publisher once and owned them forever. Then in 2024, Canva bought Serif, the company behind Affinity. Normally, that's the exact moment a subscription appears and everyone collectively sighs. Instead, in 2025, Canva merged the 3 apps into one program simply called Affinity and made it completely free on Windows and Mac, with an iPad version coming later. Not a free trial, not a stripped-down version, the actual professional software. Inside one app, you switch between photo editing, vector design, and page layout. The job's normally handled by Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. For designers, freelancers, students, and small businesses, that's software worth roughly $660 a year, or nearly $780 if you were paying for the full Creative Cloud suite. There are a couple of caveats. A paid Canva Pro account unlocks the newest AI features, and a few highly specialized Adobe plugin workflows still favor Adobe. But for almost everyone else, this is one of the biggest shakeups in creative software in years. Adobe spent a decade convincing people that renting creative tools every month was normal. Affinity looked at that idea and dropped the price to $0. ProtonVPN. Public Wi-Fi is one of those things everyone uses and nobody really trusts. Airports, coffee shops, hotels. You're connecting to a network shared with hundreds of strangers, and your traffic is passing through something you don't control. That's why VPNs got popular. Unfortunately, it's also why the internet is full of free VPNs that promise privacy while quietly making money from the exact thing they're supposed to protect: your data. That's what makes ProtonVPN different. It's built by the same privacy-focused team behind Proton Mail, follows a strict no-logs policy, and operates under Switzerland's strong privacy laws. In other words, it isn't secretly keeping a diary of everything you do online. The real surprise is the free plan. Most free VPNs give you a few gigabytes a month before informing you that privacy now costs extra. ProtonVPN gives you unlimited data, free forever. No cap, no trial countdown, no feeling that your privacy expires after 3 YouTube videos. Free users can connect through servers in around 10 countries, including the US, Canada, Japan, the Netherlands, Switzerland, and Singapore. More than enough for everyday browsing and staying protected on public Wi-Fi. The free plan does have limits. 1 device at a time, it auto-picks the fastest server, and premium perks like streaming unlocks and top speed are paywalled. But for everyday privacy, it's a small compromise. Considering NordVPN and ExpressVPN can run $60 to over $100 a year, ProtonVPN replaces one of the internet's most heavily advertised subscriptions without charging a cent. Most free VPNs sell the data they promise to protect. ProtonVPN chose the much stranger business model of actually protecting it. Bitwarden. If your current system involves using the same password everywhere, adding an exclamation point when a site demands something stronger, or keeping everything in a notes file called passwords definitely don't open, we need to talk. Bitwarden is a free, open-source password manager that stores unlimited passwords and syncs them across unlimited devices. No subscription. That's the exact feature most competitors put behind a paywall, and here it's included from day one. It also supports passkeys, stores payment cards and addresses, autofills logins, and includes 2-step login. Its code is publicly auditable, and it uses zero-knowledge encryption. Your vault is locked before it ever reaches Bitwarden servers, so even the company can't read what's inside. There's one trade-off. Because it's cloud synced, you're still trusting Bitwarden to host it. If you want complete offline ownership, KeePassXC is still the better pick. But for everyone else, Bitwarden is hard to beat. 1Password offers no free plan at all, and LastPass has grown more restrictive while carrying the baggage of multiple high-profile breaches. PDF24 Creator. PDFs are supposed to make documents easier to share. Instead, they've become one of the internet's greatest sources of unnecessary frustration. Merge 2 files? Pay. Split a document? Pay. Compress one so it fits in an email? Somehow, also pay. Adobe looked at one of the world's most common file formats and found about 30 ways to put basic buttons behind a subscription. That's where PDF24 Creator comes in. Made by a German company with a strong privacy focus. It's completely free. No feature limits, no premium tier, no countdown expiring right before your deadline. And it does far more than its name suggests. You can merge, split, and compress PDFs, convert to and from PDF, run OCR and scan pages, add signatures, password protect files, remove passwords from documents you own, add watermarks, rearrange pages, and edit, all from one toolkit. Best part? The desktop version works entirely offline. So your files stay on your computer instead of being uploaded to some random server. It won't match every enterprise workflow in Adobe Acrobat Pro. Adobe charges around $155 to $240 a year for Acrobat Pro. PDF24 does what 95% of people actually need for the incredibly competitive price of absolutely nothing. LocalSend. For some reason, moving a file between 2 devices is still harder than it should be. iPhone to iPhone? Easy. Android to Android? Fine. But the second you involve Windows, a Mac, or anything outside the same ecosystem, people start emailing files to themselves or digging out a USB drive to move one photo. That's exactly why LocalSend exists. The easiest way to describe it? Imagine AirDrop, except it doesn't care what devices you're using. LocalSend is a free open-source app that works on Windows, Mac OS, Linux, Android, and iPhone. As long as both devices are on the same Wi-Fi, they discover each other automatically and send files, photos, videos. Everything transfers device to device over your local network using encrypted HTTPS with optional PIN verification. One limitation: both devices generally need to be on the same network, so it won't replace Google Drive or Dropbox for sending files across the internet. But that's not what it's for. Apple built AirDrop and mostly kept it inside Apple's walls. LocalSend looked at that and said, what if everybody else got invited too? VirtualBox. Ever wanted to try another operating system without risking your actual computer? Maybe you're curious about Linux, need an old version of Windows for a program that refuses to evolve, or downloaded a file suspicious enough to make you question your life choices. That's exactly what VirtualBox is for. The easiest way to describe it? It's a computer inside your computer. It runs an entirely separate operating system inside a window, completely isolated from your main PC. Experiment with Linux, run legacy Windows, test software, or intentionally break an OS just to see what happens. If everything catches fire, you delete the virtual machine and move on. Your real computer never notices. For years, virtualization software was pricey. One of VirtualBox's biggest rivals, VMware Workstation Pro, only became free in 2025. The trade-offs? Virtual machines carry performance overhead, so they won't feel as fast as native. Gaming and heavy 3D are limited, and you'll want a decent amount of RAM since you're asking your computer to pretend it's two computers at once. Notepad++. Windows Notepad is perfectly fine, right up until you need it to do literally anything beyond plain text. Open a giant log file, edit a config, clean up messy data, or write a few lines of code, and Notepad suddenly feels like a butter knife at a construction site. That's where Notepad++ comes in. Created by Don Ho and actively developed for nearly 2 decades. It's written in C++. Despite its size, it's loaded. Syntax highlighting makes code readable. Code folding keeps big files organized. Tabbed editing handles multiple documents at once, and its search and regular expression tools can clean up thousands of lines in seconds. For programmers, system admins, and anyone constantly editing text files, it replaces editors like Sublime Text, saving around $99 while doing everything most people need. The limitation is simple. It's Windows only, and it isn't trying to be a full development environment like VS Code. Windows Notepad is where text goes to be barely edited. Notepad++ is what happens when someone actually cared. 20 years later, it's still free, still fast, and still one of the first apps many developers install. FreeCAD. For years, FreeCAD had a frustrating reputation. People loved the idea. Then they'd spend hours building a model, change one small dimension, and watch half the design implode because of something called the topological naming problem. It was the bug every FreeCAD user eventually met. Then came FreeCAD 1.0. Released in late 2024 after years of development, it was the biggest milestone in the project's history. That infamous topological naming issue was finally fixed, making parametric models far more reliable for real engineering work. Version 1.0 also added a proper integrated assembly workbench for multi-part assemblies with joints, motion, and exploded views. Alongside its sketcher, part design, and unified BIM tools with native IFC support for architecture. The learning curve is real. It still isn't as polished as SolidWorks, and its interface reminds you that engineers prioritize function over design awards. But what it does now is remarkable. SolidWorks can cost well over $4,000 a year, and Fusion 360 runs around $680. FreeCAD costs absolutely nothing. Ardour. Ardour is a free open-source digital audio workstation for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux, built for serious recording, editing, and mixing. Where LMMS focused on MIDI and beat production, Ardour is designed for real instruments, vocals, podcasts, and full studio projects. It includes unlimited audio tracks and buses, non-destructive editing, unlimited undo, full automation, and broad plugin support including VST effects and instruments. One thing worth explaining is the download model. The source code is completely free and open source. The developers ask for a small optional payment if you'd like the ready-made installers directly from them. It's how they fund development, not a subscription, not a paywall. The downside? Ardour expects you to know or be willing to learn how professional audio software works. But considering Pro Tools, Logic Pro, and Ableton Live run anywhere from $200 to over $700, it's an incredible value. WinRAR. At this point, WinRAR is less of a program and more of an internet legend. For nearly 30 years, it's technically been a trial version. The trial expires and then politely keeps working forever while occasionally suggesting that a $29 license would be a lovely idea. Somehow, almost nobody ever pays. Its job is simple. Open RAR files, compress folders, and quietly exist on millions of Windows computers. But 2025 was a reminder that software doesn't become safe just because it's familiar. A critical vulnerability known as CVE 2025-8088 let specifically crafted archive files drop malicious software into Windows startup folders the moment someone extracted them. It was actively exploited by the Romcom hacking group against targets in Europe and Canada before it was patched in WinRAR 7.13. The problem is that WinRAR doesn't automatically update. So if you installed it years ago and forgot it existed, you could still be running a vulnerable version right now. The fix is thankfully simple. Update WinRAR immediately. WinRAR is the app everyone has used and almost nobody has paid for. And 2025 was a good reminder that free forever doesn't always mean safe forever. Everything. If you've ever searched for a file you know exists, only to watch Windows search spin for ages before giving you completely unrelated results, everything fixes that problem almost instantly. The app is completely free, has no ads, no subscription, and is incredibly lightweight, using very little CPU or RAM even while it's running. The moment you open it, it indexes every file and folder on your computer. Then, as you type, the results update in real time. Even on drives with millions of files, searches are usually nearly instant. The reason it's so fast is because it doesn't rely on Windows' slow search index. Instead, it reads your drive's master file table, a built-in database on NTFS drives that already contains information about every file. Everything builds its own index in just a few seconds. If you're a power user, it also supports wildcards, regular expressions, and advanced search filters, making it easy to find exactly what you're looking for. There are a couple of limitations though. It searches file and folder names, not the text inside documents. So it's designed to help you locate files rather than search their contents. It's also Windows only. Once you start using everything, Windows search doesn't just feel slow. It feels broken. SyncThing. What if Dropbox didn't have a monthly subscription? Better yet, what if there wasn't even a company storing your files? That's exactly what SyncThing does. It's a completely free open source app with no paid tiers, no premium version, and no subscription ever. Instead of uploading your files to someone else's servers, SyncThing creates an encrypted peer-to-peer connection that syncs files directly between your own devices over your local network or the internet. Since there's no company server sitting in the middle, your data never leaves your control. It works across Windows, Mac OS, Linux, and Android, making it easy to keep files synchronized no matter which devices you use. Unlike traditional cloud storage services, there are no storage caps or per gigabyte fees because SyncThing simply uses the storage already available on your own devices, while Dropbox's free plan gives you around 2 gigabytes before asking you to upgrade. SyncThing is only limited by the size of your own hard drives. There is a trade-off though. Since there's no always-on cloud copy, both devices generally need to be online at the same time for files to sync. Some power users solve this by leaving a network-attached storage device, or even a $5 a month virtual private server running 24/7. But for most people, that's completely optional. If you were paying for Dropbox's 2 terabyte plan, switching to SyncThing could save you around $120 every year. PenPot. Design software has become surprisingly expensive. And that's exactly why so many designers have started looking at PenPot. PenPot is a free open source design and prototyping tool that's quickly become one of the strongest alternatives to Figma. Unlike most competitors, its self-hosted version is completely free, with unlimited users and unlimited projects. Even its cloud version has a generous free plan, offering unlimited files and projects, support for up to 8 team members, and around 10 gigabytes of storage, more than enough for most individuals and small teams. What really makes PenPot different is that it's built on SVG, an open web standard. That means designers and developers are working with the same underlying format, making it much easier to hand designs over for development without dealing with messy exports or compatibility issues. The timing couldn't have been better. After Figma restructured its pricing, many designers started looking for alternatives. Depending on the plan, a single Figma seat can cost anywhere from around $15 to $75 per month, while PenPot gives most people everything they need for free. There are a few trade-offs. Its plugin ecosystem is much smaller than Figma's, and some of Figma's new AI-powered features still don't have direct equivalents. PenPot is the door that opened just as people started looking for one. Proton Pass. Proton Pass comes from the same privacy-focused team behind ProtonVPN and Proton Mail. And like the rest of Proton services, it's built under Switzerland's strong privacy laws. The free version is surprisingly generous. You get unlimited passwords, unlimited secure notes, unlimited saved credit cards, and unlimited devices, plus 10 hide my email aliases to keep your real email address private when signing up for websites. Best of all, you don't even need a credit card to get started. Everything is protected with end-to-end zero-knowledge encryption, meaning your password vault is encrypted before it ever reaches Proton's servers. Even Proton can't see what's inside. If you need more email aliases and a few extra features, there's a Pass Plus plan for around $2.99 a month when billed annually. But for most people, the free version is more than enough. It's perfect if you're already using Proton's ecosystem and want all of your passwords, emails, and privacy tools under one account. Switching to Proton Pass can easily save you around $36 a year compared to many paid password managers. Proton keeps showing up in this series for one simple reason. They keep giving away the features everyone else puts behind a paywall. KDE Connect. Your phone and your computer can be sitting 6 inches apart, and somehow they still refuse to talk to each other. That's exactly the problem KDE Connect solves. It's a free open source app that connects your phone and computer over the same Wi-Fi network. There are no accounts to create, no servers in the middle, and no company handling your data. Your devices communicate directly with each other. Once connected, your phone starts feeling like an extension of your computer. Copy something on your phone and paste it straight onto your computer with a shared clipboard, and instantly send files or links between the two. It also lets you browse your phone's storage directly from your computer using SFTP. Turn your phone into a wireless trackpad or presentation remote. It works with Android phones and Windows, Mac OS, or Linux computers, making it one of the easiest ways to bridge the gap between your devices. The biggest limitation is that it's best on Android. iPhone support exists, but Apple's restrictions mean some features are more limited. It's also much more popular in the Linux community than on Windows, even though it works well there too. Parsec. Most remote desktop apps work, until you actually try to do something with them. That's where Parsec is different. Originally built for cloud gaming, Parsec was designed around one thing: ultra-low latency. It lets you access your PC from anywhere, whether that's your gaming desktop from a laptop, your work computer from the couch. The secret is its hardware-accelerated video encoding and game streaming technology. For personal use, Parsec is completely free. If you're using it for business, you'll need one of its paid plans, but unless you're using it commercially, you'll probably never need to pay. Tools like TeamViewer reserve most business-friendly features for paid plans that start at around $25 a month, while Parsec gives personal users a genuinely free experience. VS Codium. Millions of developers use Visual Studio Code every day, but what most people don't realize is there's an even more private version of it. It's called VS Codium. VS Codium is a free open-source build of Microsoft's Visual Studio Code. It's compiled from the exact same open-source source code, but with Microsoft's branding, telemetry, and proprietary license removed. That means you get the same editor, the same debugging tools, and the same programming language support that made VS Code so popular, just without the software quietly sending usage data back to Microsoft. For developers who care about privacy or prefer fully open source software, it's an easy swap. There is one small trade-off. Since Microsoft isn't involved, the official Visual Studio Code extension marketplace isn't included by default. Instead, VS Codium uses an open source marketplace, and a handful of Microsoft's own extensions aren't available. For most developers, it's a minor inconvenience rather than a deal breaker. Unlike most apps in this series, this one won't save you money because VS Code is already free. Instead, it's about something else entirely: your data. Scribus. Scribus is a free open-source desktop publishing program that's widely considered the best free alternative to Adobe InDesign. Scribus is built specifically for creating books, magazines, brochures, flyers, newspapers, posters, and other professional print layouts. It even supports features that actually matter for commercial printing, including CMYK color, spot colors, and press-ready PDF exports. It works on Windows, Mac OS, and Linux, and unlike many free alternatives, it's completely free even for commercial work. There are a few downsides. It can't open native InDesign files, the interface definitely feels dated, and there's a real learning curve if you've never used desktop publishing software before. If you currently pay for Adobe InDesign, switching to Scribus could save you around $260 every year. Scribus is the deep cut of this list. Most people will never need it, but if you ever have to design something that's actually going to be printed, it's surprisingly capable for a piece of software that costs absolutely nothing. Handbrake. If you've ever recorded a video and somehow ended up with a 10 GB file for 3 minutes of footage, you already understand why Handbrake exists. Handbrake is a free video converter and compressor that takes massive files and shrinks them down dramatically while keeping quality surprisingly intact. It supports batch processing, device presets, codec conversion. This is the tool people use before uploading to YouTube. Instead of paying for converters like Movavi or Wondershare UniConverter, Handbrake does the same job for free. 7-Zip. At this point, 7-Zip is less of an app and more of a survival requirement for using Windows. It's a file compression tool that opens basically every archive format: zip, RAR, tar, ISO, and its own 7Z format, which usually compresses files even better than normal zip folders. It also supports encryption and password-protected archives. So, whether you're extracting downloads, compressing folders, or opening random files from the internet that look slightly suspicious, 7-Zip is the tool quietly doing the work in the background. And unlike WinRAR, 7-Zip is actually free. Not free if you ignore the pop-up for the next 14 years. ShareX. It's a free open-source screenshot and screen capture tool that quietly replaces a bunch of paid software without ever asking for attention. Standard screenshots, region captures, scrolling screenshots for long web pages, even screen recording and GIFs. But the real reason people stick with it is what happens after you capture something. ShareX has a huge automation system built in. Annotate, blur sensitive info, upload to the cloud, and copy the link to your clipboard, all in one click. It's perfect for tutorials, bug reports, documentation, or anyone tired of juggling 5 different apps. And yes, it replaces tools like Snagit, which costs around $60 or more. ShareX costs nothing. QBitTorrent. QBitTorrent is the answer to what if uTorrent didn't get weird? Free, ad-free, lightweight. No bundled software, no pop-ups, no premium speed boost buttons that do nothing except exist. You still get built-in search, bandwidth scheduling, sequential downloads, and RSS support, without the interface turning into a billboard. Used responsibly, it's the standard for legal content like Linux distributions and public domain media, where torrents are actually one of the most efficient ways to move large files on the internet. Honorable mentions. Free Download Manager. Downloading a large file shouldn't feel like negotiating with your browser. FDM is a free, open-source download manager for Windows, macOS, Linux, and Android. Instead of one stream, it splits files into multiple segments to boost speeds when the server allows. And it supports pause and resume, browser integration, scheduling, and a built-in BitTorrent client. If you've used Internet Download Manager, it'll feel familiar, except IDM gives you 30 days before asking for money, and FDM just keeps working. Total Commander. Windows File Explorer is fine, until you need to organize hundreds of files without losing your sanity. Total Commander is a dual-pane file manager that makes copying, moving, comparing, and renaming large batches dramatically faster. With built-in archive support, batch renaming, file comparison, FTP, and enough keyboard shortcuts to make you feel like you're piloting a spaceship. And yes, like WinRAR, it's been trial software for so long that some people forget it even has a license. Every launch greets you with the legendary 1, 2, 3 button. And somehow that tradition has survived for decades. And that's the complete list. 40 apps, replacing well over $4,000 a year in paid software for absolutely nothing. If you watched this whole thing straight through, genuinely thank you. That's a lot of time to give a video, and I don't take it for granted. Drop a comment and let me know which app surprised you the most, or which one you're installing first. And if this saved you money, subscribe. And the video on screen right now was picked based on what you just watched. Click it, and I'll see you there.